It's just as well that we're here before the dog, because we've got the human factor to find in the Real Charlie Chaplin. I'm Van Connor.
And I'm Becks Perfect, and this is Off Screen, your 7-day guide to everything movies.
Boom.
Welcome to Off Screen, another week, and I'm very happy to say that we haven't been blown away by Storm Dudley, and we are still here and intact today talking about our top movies of the week on the big screen, the small screen, and everything in between. It has been a wild ride across a number of different years. A wild, windy ride, shall we say. How you doing, Van?
I've had better weeks, if I'm honest. For releases, this was not a good week. Like, we fought tooth and nail to come up with 4 entire movies to cover this week. Would have been easier if we'd had one that they've since denied, but they didn't put out screening links for one of them, so we couldn't review it. We will preview it later on in the streaming section, notably, and I was very excited about it. It's such a good trailer. We've even got a clip. We just can't review it, annoyingly, because I won't get to see it until the day this airs. So, in the meanwhile, we have cobbled together 4. We of course got the big hitter of the week, which is Channing Tatum going dogging, so to speak. And there's a Charlie Chaplin documentary, but we do have 2 others. So let's cover those first. And let's talk then, firstly, about Here Before, which I think you've seen Here Before, haven't you?
Yeah, I have, and it stars Andrea Riseborough, and she is donning her finest Northern Irish accent to take us through a story very different to Belfast. So if that's what you're expecting, you'll be disappointed. No, this is the story, a modern day story of a mother who has a new family turn up next door to her, and she befriends the little girl in the family, and things start to get a little bit weird. There's a little bit of I suppose, similarities between the new girl and Andrea Riseborough's recently deceased daughter.
The wee girl puts me in mind of Josie.
She'd be about the same age.
When we came here before, I was too small for these, wasn't I?
You've never been here before?
We have. There was a yellow thing. A fish.
She knows places Josie.
Josie! You're starting to worry me here now.
I understand that I sound crazy.
Megan is not Josie.
How do you know?
Now, you know me. I love me a genre-bent thriller. I love me a supernaturally tinged spine chiller, etc. And this is falls right in that wheelhouse. It's not the most original concept ever, because we all know this because we've seen this story done 7 ways from Sunday. We 6 ways from Sunday, 7 ways. I never know how many ways it is. However many ways from Sunday, we've seen it done. And the thing here that sets it apart, though, is that Riseborough performance. It is absolutely that. And there's a couple of neat little things in there. It has been put together very well. There's great cinematography, great shot composition in there, great score as well. But it is all about Riseborough. It's all about that performance. I would argue you could swap out any other cast member on this, but you have to keep Riseborough. And she's the thing that sets it apart, because for the longest time, it's not an especially long film either. It's about 100 minutes or so. You go through this, and for the longest time, like about a third of the runtime, I didn't feel that engaged by it. I didn't feel that involved. And then round about the point that I sort of thought that I was mentally, I would have been mentally checked out by that point, I thought, okay, I actually care now. Andrea Riseborough has sucked me in. And she's very, very good. It's a great performance, because it's buried so firmly in the emotion of the character rather than any of the plot mechanics. And you can argue that makes the film a little bit slow for a mainstream audience, but on the other hand, it does sell a relatively cookie-cutter, genre-bending, supernatural spine chiller to the Guardian crowd, effectively.
Yeah. And I have to agree with you. I think it is, you're there to see Andrea Riseborough do her thing, and it's a small film. It's a small film that is very well formed. I completely agree with you that there were points where I was like, where is this going to go? Because it is losing my attention. And then there is a U-turn in it that suddenly sort of brings everything back, which I kind of go, it's got really interesting now. And that's the bit that you want to hold on for. But I think it is dangerous with a 100-minute film that if you're already feeling that there's a point where you're being lost in such a short space of time, that is something to be considered. I think the performance of the little girl, Megan, in it is good. I think everything you've got to kind of be in the mood for a film like this where you just want to watch a good actor do a really good role and be completely immersed in it, but not expect anything else from the surroundings.
Hang on,
and then you'll be satisfied.
I'm mixing up my movies, by the way. I'm sorry to cut you off. I'm mixing up my movies. This one isn't 100 minutes. That's another one. This one is 83. So by that point, I think I was about half an hour in.
Yeah, and it's, and this is the thing. There's two very simple settings in here. There's the school and there's the house, and there's a park. Actually, sorry to add that on. And you don't really go to many other places within this, and it kind of is a bit bleak just in its setting. It looks cold. It's a bit mucky and
grey,
grey and dank. And look, it works. It just needs a little bit of oomph to get it going. But overall, a solid watch, I think. What else have we got, Van?
I do think that Riseborough gives us some oomph. We get some bang for that buck. But we have also got this week Human Factors, which, and I know I'm not the only person to say this out loud about this movie. We've not got a clip for this one because it's entirely foreign language. Worth noting, by the way, that as we were prepping this show, we were given the description of the wrong Human Factors. We had a clip on file for a different movie named The Human Factor. That's a documentary about negotiating peace in the Middle East with Bill Clinton. So our clip will not work here. So we are going to talk instead about what I can only describe as Michael Haneke light. It's a debut film not debut, I think it's his sophomore effort, from Ronnie Trocker. Foreign language director who's brought this. It's effectively a sort of, I think it's French language in this, French and Belgian, I think. You get a family who are on the precipice, on the edge of on the verge of taking a contract. They're family of publicists, by the way, taking a contract to basically run a European election campaign. As they're debating whether or not to do this, they journey to their vacation home where they discover it's been broken into. And this one event sets off just a series of squabbles and interpersonal conflict within the family dynamic. And each member of this four-person family has their own thing they're dealing with, but this home invasion incident starts to bring those separate storylines all into the fore, and that kind of thing. This is, again, it wants to be bonkers and it wants to be Haneke, and I'm a very big Haneke fan. I'm a very big Funny Games fan. I actually almost prefer the American remake. Would you believe I'm on the fence on that one? But I could be persuaded to prefer the American remake to Funny Games. Let that say what it will to you of me. But this, not quite up to that level. This is not quite up to Haneke degree. It's a little too abstract. It's a little bit too much, seemingly about nothing, but it does pull a very Haneke trick in constantly revisiting the home invasion from different perspectives. The home invasion from different perspectives. There's a little bit more to it than that, but you get there later on, including at one point, and I swear to God, I'm not making this up, from the perspective of the kid's pet rat. That is an actual thing. There is a pet rat named Zorro who we actually get to see this home invasion from the perspective of. Good performances in there. Michael Waschke in there and Martha Schneider. Great chemistry. Absolutely nailed the dramatic beats in there. The problem is that the story itself, I can say, too abstract, doesn't really sell the suspense of it. You want to feel that tension. The drama is trying to build the tension, and the performances are there. I just don't think the script and the story is.
Welcome back to Off Screen. Now we're going to take you on a little bit of a reminiscent trip back in time to probably, at the time, the greatest star that walked the planet in the early 20th century, and that is, of course, Charlie Chaplin. I've been fascinated by Chaplin. I have to say the Robert Downey Jr. movie Chaplin was one of the first movies that I saw that really got me into my love of film, and I have been so interested about his background for such a long time, and this documentary is going to be really interesting for a lot of people because there's going to be a whole generation that isn't familiar with Charlie Chaplin or his work. And so this actually looks at a slightly darker side of Charlie Chaplin. It looks a little bit more at his relationships with essentially child brides, his kind of reported abusive behavior, the accusations around him potentially being a communist, but also the kind of mental and physical sort of abuse that he received as a child, which may have explained some of his actions going forwards. But ultimately, it is an incredible mishmash of footage and reconstructed footage that really pieces together a star in a generation.
I thought, well, I mean, everything in a contradiction. Baggy trousers, tight coat, large head, small hat, cane, large pair of old shoes.
In fact, the shoes were Sterling's. The trousers, Fatty Arbuckle's. And the hat belonged to somebody's father. The costume isn't stolen, but it's assembled, magpie-like, from bits of other costumes.
I really love this movie. I wound up seeing this. I wound up going to 2 different screenings of this. I saw it the first time, learned a bunch of stuff that I didn't know about Chaplin, went and revisited a bunch of his movies and Robert Downey Jr. in Richard Attenborough's Chaplin, which is, incidentally, one of my favourite ever movies, and a very nice memory I have of my grandmother as well, actually. And then saw this a second time, and believe it or not, I managed to get even more out of it. I still, because it's a film I didn't even know existed, which I think is his final film, which is called Limelight, in which he's effectively playing himself. He's playing a fictionalized version of himself, which I've got on my Just Watch list. As soon as I can find a copy somewhere, DVD or anything, I'm going to watch the hell out of that. This, you can tell from the clip, this is narrated by Bill from Doctor Who. Bill Mackey narrates this. Directed by Peter Middleton and James Spinney. It's big gimmick, as I was talking to Matt Turner about this, it's big gimmick, and the only thing that really sets it apart is its use of 2 sources of archival material. It has an interview with Effie, one of Charlie Chaplin's sort of cousins, his childhood friend who he sort of treated as a cousin, and who knew him as he was growing up and reconnected with him very briefly at an event later in life, met up with him once more. And we get to see this reconstructed with the audio of the actual interview. It's an interview that took place, I think, in the early 80s. You've also got the interview that Chaplin himself undertook for his biography, which we see recreated here. If you've seen the Robert Downey Jr. one, it's effectively the framing device for that movie. We saw it done with Anthony Hopkins in the movie. You see it done here, recreated with sort of no-name actors, but with the actual audio. And it is strange hearing some of those lines just word for word that you heard Downey Jr. come out with 30 years ago, but hearing the actual original version of it. And if you go back and you view that movie, you do see that Chaplin's book is the source material for Attenborough's one. So there is a lot of overlap. The exploration of Chaplin's own controversies, I think, is a little bit soft-pedaled, and I don't think is dealt with quite in the manner that you would assume a Chaplin documentary in the 2020s, particularly with, let's just say, certain sociological movements and events, perhaps should be.
I think what's interesting, though, is that we haven't really seen in a documentary before some of the audio and hearing some of his previous wives actually speak. So there's a TV interview with one of his wives, and you kind of hear her be interviewed there, and it gives that extra oomph, I think, to the documentary. Now, I actually had a little issue with Pearl Mackie, who narrated it, because at the beginning it takes a while to kind of build up any steam, and it feels very almost like you're sat in a classroom learning about the background. It felt very teacher-led at the beginning, but as
it's got a false intro. It's got a fake out intro. It's got a whole there's like 5 entire minutes at the beginning that don't need to be there, in which they're talking about
I agree.
how popular that people kept seeing Chaplin everywhere. You're like, cool. And then they go, and here's the first time anyone saw Charlie Chaplin. You're like, yeah, but we just didn't need the previous 5 minutes.
Yeah, and that 5 minutes can lose people straight away because it sets the wrong kind of tone for the movie, for the documentary. But once it gets into it, gosh, the footage is incredible. Like, I even forgot, like with The Great Dictator, just how impactful the speech at the end is. That transition into talkies, where he finally makes that jump to say, I'm going to move from silent to talkie movies, and I'm going to do it this way. And then he was asked to recreate that. I think for Roosevelt, was it?
I think it was. The line that I really love in there, tying into what you said, the line that I really love in there is he spent, decades as a silent movie star, and then once he spoke, he wouldn't shut up.
Yeah. But
and of course,
overall,
got him into a lot of trouble.
It got him into a lot of trouble. It did indeed. And it also killed the tramp as well. That was the moment the tramp died. So look, it's so fascinating to see that. I do think there could have been a little bit more about how he managed to really kind of make the solid mark in Hollywood that he did. It kind of sort of he jumped on a boat, got into the US, and then suddenly everything happened, and suddenly he's starting to be in movies and things like that. It's like, did it kind of happen that easily? But anyway, regardless of that, the understanding of how he characterized his comic movements and falling down stairs and all that kind of stuff, and the effort and the fact that he did takes 100, 200 times to get something right was infuriating for everyone, but fascinating for us to see in such a condensed way. Look, guys, we're giving too much away here. Go watch it. It is, sorry, we could talk about it for hours because it really was that fascinating. Ignore the first 5 minutes, get going, and then you'll really, really enjoy it.
Okay, one that we're going to have to be quick with anyway, and thankfully there isn't an awful lot to say about it. I mean, I could in a hilarious drunk sort of way if I really wanted to, but Dog, starring, produced by and co-directed by Channing Tatum. This is his directorial debut with his production partner, Reed Carolyn, who I think is a name you've seen around for years because he's always been sort of connected with Channing Tatum. This is loosely based on Channing Tatum's relationship with his actual dog, and one assumes his experience filming G.I. Joe Rise of Cobra, or Dear John, perhaps, who knows. But the basic plot is, Channing Tatum is Briggs. He's a soldier who's been kicked out of the army for an injury he's sustained while on deployment. He's got a concussion. It's causing him to have, health issues, vision problems, concentration. What do they call equilibrium? The equilibrium thing?
Vertigo.
Balance problem? Vertigo. It's like a vertigo type thing as well. And all he needs is a medical clearance to sort of get him, a medical pass to go over the line. He's basically blackmailed into escorting a military dog, an unruly, uncontrollable military dog named Lulu, cross-country, who he has experience with in his unit, cross-country to the family funeral of a fallen comrade who happens to have been Lulu's handler, out on deployment. And, of course, it's a mismatched buddy comedy with a road trip element and a dog.
What is your deal, man? Come on. You're slobbering all over my seats. Maybe just take the crazy down. Just like one notch. Just one notch, that's it. Maybe we could get along. And if we get along, maybe we could even have some fun and send Riley off right. Doesn't that sound nice, dog? I'm all you got. I'm it. It's just me.
So is it Turner and Hooch, but without the charm?
Okay, first of all, it's got bags of charm. It actually has. I'm not here to smack talk it. I actually think Dog is pretty good and pretty charming. It is middle of the road as it can get. It's bare bones basic idea concept you've seen done a million times. I will say though, imagine what would happen, Bex, if someone threw a ton of money at someone with the mentality of me and then said, go and make a family-friendly movie about a man and a dog. What do you think you'd get? The answer would be somewhat close to Dog, a movie that opens, incidentally, in a 12-month period in which we have reviewed cow, lamb, and pig. So why not Dog as well? This thing is... that sense of humour that Channing Tatum brought to 21 Jump Street is here. It's here, and it's in the production of the movie. So you've got a family-friendly movie that involves diversions for aborted comedy three-ways, entire sequences, drug-addled three-ways as well, entire sequences that are set up to, fake out the Texas Chainsaw Massacre at one stage, featuring a top-of-his-game charm-level Kevin Nash, incidentally, so one for the WWE boys in there. It's bizarre. You can watch this with your kids, but and they'll love it, because it's a very cute dog movie. But you will at the same time be like, we'll tell you about that when you're older. There's a lot of that going on. This thing's 12A. But I will say, though, take the tissues. It's a dog movie. You can check doesthedogdie.com if you want the answer one way or the other. I'm not spoiling that bit for you. But it's a movie about a dog, so obviously there have to be some tears. Good or bad, there have to be tears. Yes, indeed, there are. Well-earned tears. And I do think Channing Tatum is about as charming as he could possibly get. I will say, though, if there had to be only one big movie out this week, I'm begrudgingly grateful that it was Dog. I had a great time with it. Welcome back to Off Screen, and this time we're going Freeview. And it's my distinct pleasure to introduce this week's offerings, starting tonight on Friday the 18th, of course, with one of my very, very favourite movies. This is Videodrome, by none other than David Cronenberg. This stars James Woods, back when it was acceptable to cast James Woods in movies, alongside Debbie Harry. It's from the year I was born, no less. This is from 1983. So this is quite early Cronenberg, but arguably probably his most iconic next to The Fly, I would say. So it's on 10:50 tonight on the Horror Channel. James Woods is the TV executive. Remember, this was the 80s when they made this. The TV executive who's checking out what this trendy new VHS thing is about and what new content he could acquire from it that could appeal to his audience, only to discover the show called Videodrome that takes a toll on him both mentally and indeed physically. Do remember that David Cronenberg is the original master of body horror. So when I tell you that this is a literal representation, this is, the old thing of people getting their minds warped by the things they watch in movies. This is what happens if you could physically manifest it, as represented by the then acceptable presence, I say then acceptable presence, of only James Woods.
My father helped to create Videodrome. He saw it as the next phase in the evolution of man as a technological animal. When he realized what his partners were going to use it for, he tried to take it away from them. And they killed him. Quietly. At the end, he was convinced that public life on television was more real than private life in the flesh. He wasn't afraid to let his body die.
Tell me about my Videodrome problem.
My father knows much more about it than I do. Listen to him.
Ooh, I think I spent my 80s watching The Fly rather than Videodrome, so I'll definitely want to check this one out. So that's on 10:50 p.m. on the Horror Channel on tonight. And then let's have something a little bit more mainstream for tomorrow. So on Saturday at 9 p.m. on Channel 4 is Bohemian Rhapsody, Rami Malek's Oscar-winning performance as Freddie Mercury. And we look at a very, I suppose, straight down the line view biopic of how Queen became Queen. I really like this. I do enjoy this.
Yeah, famously, this may well be remembered as the final film of Bryan Singer, effectively, but not collaborative direction, but co-direction from Bryan Singer and Dexter Fletcher, who, of course, would then go on to direct the, I think, much superior Rocketman straight after this. Great performance from Malek. The only problem is he's the weakest part of an otherwise fun film. Like, Queen are great. When Queen are in the film, they're great, and the movie's worth watching just for them. Gwilym Lee as Brian May.
Brian May.
As Brian May is absolutely fantastic in this movie. There's so much going for it. It's just a shame that when you're dealing with the Freddie stuff, it just doesn't quite work. The performance is there. The material is not. And fans of Freddie, I'm a big Freddie Mercury fan. I've watched just about every documentary you could ever watch on Freddie Mercury. And I'm sad to say that anyone with even a cursory knowledge of the life of Freddie Mercury will watch this and go, well, hang on a minute, that didn't happen. That's not how that happened. And if you can get past that, though, pretty good.
Yeah. I think it's a nice sort of easy ride into understanding their life journey as a band, I think, which is good. Right, so let's move on to the next one, Van. We've got on Sunday, we've got 4:55 at Film 4, we've got Playing with Fire.
Yes, Playing with Fire, which stars the star of one of the best things on television right now. And I saw the finale this morning, because we're recording this on Thursday. I saw the finale of Peacemaker, so I'm in love with John Cena right now. This is John Cena is the Firehouse Chief, the play it by the book, up in the woodland mountains Firehouse Chief, who is forced to take in a group of children whose house burns down while the parents are away. And he has to basically guard the kids until the parents return, as you sort of would expect a fire department. They're so remote, they don't have social services, for instance. And it is about how this by-the-book fire chief basically finds himself sort of coming to, you've seen this done 1,000 times, but this is John Cena doing it, coming to discover the joys of love and family, even within his own firehouse unit. You can see this, what I think is a pretty fun family movie, very much in the vein of something like The Game Plan or something like that. The standard, here's an action star on a white poster, leaning, and some children. This is his one for 2019. You can see it Sunday, film 4, 4:55, perfect time to see it. Like I say, you can line the poster up next to the likes of The Game Plan, The Pacifier, any of those movies where white poster, here's a wrestler and some kids. This one, though, I think one of the better ones. Have a listen.
Put that down. No shenanigans on my watch.
Yeah, no monkey shines, tomfoolery, or hijinks.
You finished?
Long as there's not a hint of malarkey.
Whoa. Now, if I didn't know any better, I would say that was sarcasm. So why don't we just take it down a notch, sister, okay? Maybe a little gratitude would be helpful.
Sorry, bud, we just don't speak oldsy times.
Oh my gosh, but she's not stopping.
Keegan-Michael Key there, who I absolutely love, as you know. Something else I love, and I revisited this very recently, this week in fact, on Monday, great movies at 6:40, and a movie that I don't think gets anywhere near enough praise, I think it deserves a lot more, is Stealth from 2005. This was an early Blu-ray purchase for a lot of people because it came with a lot of Blu-ray players and PS3s, I think, at the time, when they launched. This stars Jamie Foxx alongside, oh my God, I can never remember the guy's name. The interchangeable guy. Jessica Biel is in there. Josh Lucas, I think is his name. Josh Lucas. And this is the effectively AI Top Gun. This is an elite fighter squadron who are given experimental planes known as Talons, next generation hypersonic fighter jets, who are assigned with taking out terrorist threats all around the world. Like, they literally can zip from one continent to another in minutes with these new state-of-the-art hyper engines they've got. They are paired up with a new AI-powered UCAV, unmanned combat aerial vehicle called Eddie, E-D-I, Eddie, voiced by Wentworth Miller, no less, with a nice digital echo in there, who, is meant to work alongside them, and he's the go-to droid who can take on the combat missions they can't. They have trust issues, though, that very quickly become justified when Eddie gets struck by lightning during a landing, and his artificial intelligence gains its own set of priorities and sets off to take out targets all around the world, leading them to have to take him down. Hell of a banger, some great visual effects, well worth checking out on Great Movies, Monday at 6:40.
Great. I did not know that about the whole Blu-ray thing. That's really interesting. So let's move swiftly on to something that was quite an awards darling for its star, Viggo Mortensen, at the time. It's on 11:15 p.m. on BBC Two. It's called Captain Fantastic. Now, I've not seen Captain Fantastic. Have you seen it, Van?
Believe it or not, I haven't either. 11:15 BBC Two, as you say. Viggo Mortensen did get all the praise for this. It is about a father raising his children off the grid who is forced to sort of go back into the world when his wife has a medical crisis, and how that affects his idea of parenting, his relationship with his family. You know me, I'm a big Viggo Mortensen fan. We had crap options for this night anyway, slim pickings. Yeah. But I saw this was on, and I think we both would have gravitated towards this because I think it was the most interesting title on there. Even Sight Unseen was just the most interesting title on there. So let's see if we get proven right. 11:15, on Tuesday on BBC Two. One I know we're right on though, is on Film 4. On Wednesday at 11:20. Again, one of the best movies, in my opinion, of the last few years, and did finally get Spike Lee that Oscar. It's none other than Black Klansman. Bex, Black Klansman, we did Oscar night together when this was a thing.
We did. David John Washington, Adam Driver. It's a fantastic movie about the infiltration of the Ku Klux Klan by a black man, essentially, which is amazing. It has got a really hard-hitting, real-life endpoint to it, which I think just hits you like a freight truck at the end. But it's so worth your time. Such brilliant performances. 11:20 on Film 4. Far too late for my liking, to be honest. I think more mainstream need to catch this.
Let's just point out as well, for anyone confused by that concept, a black man infiltrate the KKK, let's just explain. He did that over the phone. This was the early 70s. He did that over the phone and then used his white fellow officer, played here by Adam Driver, who's a Jewish man, I think comes up in our clip, as his physical in-person proxy. So there's a whole thing where the voices don't match, where they have to pretend to be each other. It's great stuff, unmissable in my opinion. You can see this for yourself Wednesday, 11:20 on Film 4. Have a listen.
Well, I'm not risking my life to prevent some rednecks from lighting a couple sticks on fire.
This is the job. What's your problem?
That's my problem. For you, it's a crusade. For me, it's a job. It's not personal, nor should it be.
Why haven't you bought into this?
Why should I?
Because you're Jewish, brother. The so-called chosen people. You've been passing for a WASP. White Anglo-Saxon Protestant, cherry pie hot dog white boy. That's what some light-skinned black folks do. They pass for white. Doesn't that hatred you've been hearing the Klan say, doesn't that piss you off?
Of course it does.
Then why are you acting like you ain't got skin in the game, brother?
Rookie, that's my business.
It's our business.
Ugh, what? I love hearing that voice.
That's the H pronunciation, isn't it?
Yeah, it's amazing. So that is, that is on far too late for my liking, but it is on 11:20 p.m. Film 4. So please do watch it, press record, and spend your time on it because it's such a great film. Finishing off our film of the week is going to be I, Tonya on 10 p.m. on BBC4. This is a great film by Margot Robbie, taking, again, another Oscar-nominated performance here of her playing, is it Tonya Harding, I think it is, who was the ice skater that caused all the controversy where she may or may not, or most probably did, cause issues for her fellow skater, allowing her to basically try and triumph. And it is such a big controversy and such a great kind of Charlize Theron in Monster dressing down of the beautiful Margot Robbie for her to be in this role. It's brilliant. So
There's
funny as well.
There's a lot of contemporary pedigree as well. Craig Gillespie, who directed this and wrote and directed this, has gone on to do Pam and Tommy which is I think currently streaming on Disney Plus. And obviously Sebastian Stan is in this. So this is where the relationship with Sebastian Stan starts, and that carries over to Pam and Tommy. Amazing performance, not just from Margot Robbie though, from Alison Janney, who got the Oscar for this.
She
Deservedly got the Oscar for this. I like Paul Walter Hauser in this as well. I think he's great fun. The film though is incredible. It is funny. It is dark. It is menacing. I've got such a love of this movie. Perfect one to end the week with, Bex. Great choice by you. Credit where it's due. 10 p.m. Film 4 next Thursday. End your week. Ooh, with a trip to the ice.
Welcome back to Off Screen, and in our last block of today's show, we are taking you through the bits that are everything in between. It's on streaming, DVD and Blu-ray, and we are kicking off with a classic here. Well, two classics, in fact. Available on Disney Plus as of today is Predator and Predator 2. Now, I know this is going to be one that you love, Van. These are your right in your wheelyard, aren't they?
Well, do you remember Case Allen used to present this show a few years ago, before your time? One of the few times that he ever came to London from Sheffield for a press show, we did a day of screenings, and one of them was the reissue of Predator. I think this was 3 or 4 years ago. And oh my God, to see it on the big screen again, it's still incredible. I adore Predator. I can watch Predator over and over again. Most people I associate with socially can quote Predator unprompted, or will quote Predator unprompted. Get to the chopper. I ain't got time to bleed. If it bleeds, we can kill it. Just pick your quote. Amazing movie. Predator 2, I think, has its moments. It's nowhere near as good as Predator 1. It is a mess compared to Predator 1. But I appreciate what they were trying to do, even though it makes zero sense to have Danny Glover as an action star. But you know what? They make a good pair. The sequel has at least got Gary Busey in it and Bill Paxton, so there's 2 awesome reasons to see it right there. Check them out. They're on Disney Plus. They're coming to Disney Plus through the start here, obviously, as of today. Another one that's out today, Friday the 18th. So we're recording this the day before, so I can't have seen this yet. There were no press links for this movie. Now, I don't know if Kermode was successful, because he and I were trying in a screening together to get a link for this movie. No dice. I was told flat no by 3 different people. I don't know how he's fared. I'm betting probably better. But I'm going to watch this tomorrow morning. This is the latest reboot-call of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Did you see the last reboot-call of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Beth?
No, I don't think I did.
Right, it was called Texas Chainsaw, or to give it its full title, Texas Chainsaw 3D. It was released, I think, 9 years ago, and it starred Alexandra Daddario. And in it, she was meant to be the daughter of Leatherface. You know, from the events of the first movie, yet she had an iPhone. So you had a movie that had to be set in about 1996 with characters using iPhone 4Ss. because it conveniently solved plot holes for them and allowed them to have a torch in a room when there was none available. It was garbage. Even the 3D was terrible. It was like headache-inducing. It had been post-converted, I think. It was a terrible job. And this, I hope, fares better. The idea this time around is you've got a group of modern Gen Z hipsters who are going to a small town in Texas looking to gentrify it, only to find that this deserted town, it turns out, does have one house still occupied. 3 guesses which.
So Harlow is a ghost town.
We have a vision for this place. All it needs is young blood.
I don't want to live here. This is a chance for people to start fresh somewhere. Somewhere safe.
Hey guys, you should see this.
What are you doing in our house? You really shouldn't be here.
So Gen Z. I don't know what to make of it. The fact that you guys couldn't get any screeners, that's not always a good sign, but we'll have to wait and see.
It looks better than the last one. I can't figure out. I mean, it looked infinitely better than the last. The last one was garbage. I mean, you'd give out a
the only
screener
way
just
is
as an
up.
apology.
Well, we'll have to wait and see. That is available as of today on Netflix, so do make up your own mind, guys. We are interested to see what you think around that. You'll have to wait a couple of days, though, until Gone in 60 Seconds is available on Amazon Prime. That is a movie, Nick Cage, Angelina Jolie,
Vinnie Jones.
Everyone. Say again?
Vinnie Jones, of all people, yeah.
Yeah, I think any kid of the 90s will have watched this and kind of gone, yeah, fast cars, amazing, love it, let's go. And now you can kind of relive that
remake of a
nostalgia.
film from the 70s. I think it's a remake of a mid-70s Grindhouse film. I think.
Oh yeah, it's definitely got Grindhouse feel to it. Like you can see those links there with that. But look, everyone loves that as a film, so it's available on Amazon Prime for you on Sunday. And then moving on to Monday, I caught this actually on Disney Plus. It's now moving on to DVD and Blu-ray.
It is excellent.
Yeah, I have seen it. Yeah, The King's Man, which is an interesting kind of origin story of how the Kingsman came about. I think it's got some really fun bits for Reese Ifans in it as Rasputin.
Yes.
I mean,
right.
He's loving his role in it.
He's the best thing in the movie. Is he not the sole reason you have to see this movie? Like, you can take or leave the rest of the movie, but you gotta see Reese Ifans as Kung Fu Rasputin, which is incredible.
Russian dancing Kung Fu Rasputin is the strapline that it needs. But it's do you know what? I think this actually takes a little bit of time to get going, and then actually the second half of this movie is a lot better than the first. Yeah. It is a bit of a drag at the beginning, but stick with it. It does perk up, and yeah, I think it was a fine prequel to. Fine prequel, not a sequel, definitely not, to The Kingsman. But I do think someone was slightly underused, and that was Gemma Arterton. But, maybe if they were going to do anything more with it and maybe do a little spin-off with her, that would be quite interesting to see. But I'd like
to see another spin-off, another prequel set spin-off to the Kingsman universe featuring Gemma Arterton during the suffragette movement, actually.
Yeah, something like that. Feels like that would be very fitting. But there we go. That one's that. And then moving on to Monday, we've got we're sticking with Monday, aren't we? We've got Monday for the Kingsman, but Monday also we've got Halloween available on Netflix. I get lost with how many Halloweens we're at with this one.
Yeah, we have to be specific with this. So, Halloween 2007 is coming to Netflix. Now, I personally think this movie is garbage. I think it's a dumpster fire that should be confined to the reigns of hell. Damn you, Rob Zombie, for absolutely torpedoing one of my very favorite franchises. But this is Rob Zombie's 2007 remake or reimagining of the Halloween franchise, which makes the very crucial mistake of what happens if you remake something with a twist when everyone knows the twist. It means you start incorporating that into the narrative. If you remade The Sixth Sense, now that everyone knows, Bruce Willis is dead, you'd make it so obvious from the get-go. This kind of does the same thing, only they're not really burying a plot twist here. They're not masking a plot twist. They're just making it part of the plot. So all the big reveals, he's his sister and all that stuff, is now baked into what's effectively a twisted biopic of Michael Myers, helmed by a not brilliantly remembered metal musician, if we're honest. Malcolm McDowell is in it, which is, I suppose, a reason to see it. And Tyler Mane makes a decently imposing, very different Michael Myers. But it is one for the completists. I've put it in there because, you know, we've got so many of the other Halloween movies on streaming. There are completists out there, and other people that still want to take the Rob Zombie movies into the canon. One of my best friends will still try and make a case for H1 and H2 as they're now referred. I'm not personally there, but you can decide for yourself come Monday, all the way over on Netflix. But on DVD and Blu-ray, this is one I haven't seen, but you have, Bex. One that's up for Best Actor this year. It's up for a few other awards as well, I think. But tell me about King Richard, Bex.
Well, really, really great, deserving Best Actor nod for Will Smith in this. So King Richard is the story of Richard Williams, who is the dedicated father with a plan for his 2 daughters, 2 out of 5 daughters, who he knows will become the greatest of all time. And that is Serena and Venus Williams. And it charts more of a focus on, I suppose, Venus Williams' initial rise through the ranks. And then, obviously, we've got a slightly younger Serena Williams there. It is a brilliant movie about tennis. It is just so well done. It is what I love about this is that Richard Williams very much had a plan and was controversially unwavering around that plan, around how his daughters are going to become the greatest in their sport. And he had full belief in them. And he wouldn't let anyone, even the best coaches, I think it was Pete Sampras's coach, and also Michael, I can't even think of his name, the one that threw the racket down. What's his name? Their coach, McEnroe. John McEnroe. Sorry, not Michael.
That was it escaped me as well for a second.
I know. John McEnroe's coach, it was just like, how does this guy from the edge of town who doesn't have any money know better than these coaches? And you know what? He's stuck by his guns, and this is the performance that you want to watch because it is so brilliant. So definitely check this out.
Okay, Mr. Williams, this is really not necessary.
Hold on. You want to check on the kids? Let's check on the kids. We got future doctors and lawyers, plus a couple tennis stars in this house. Now, I understand you got to do your job, even if some crazy neighbor do call talking foolishness. And I don't even mind you saying we hard on these kids. You know why? Because we are. That's our job, to keep them off these streets. You want to arrest us for that? Fine, but what you not gonna never do is come knock on this door talking about you had to blow their brains out in them streets because they running with hoodlums and doing drugs and things. That's what you not never gonna say in this house.
Is it me, or props to him, because I'm glad he's getting a nomination. Will Smith will get an Oscar within the next 5 years, I think. Though, doesn't his voice in that sound weirdly like Eddie Murphy when he was doing stand-up impersonating his own drunk father? But I'm sure it's neither here nor there. Anyway, let's move on then to same day on Amazon Prime. This is one that just never seems to be out anywhere. Is the 2005 adaptation by Garth Jennings, recently did Sing 2, actually, of Douglas Adams' The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which I think is one of the best books ever written by a human being. I worship Douglas Adams. This was not brilliantly received, but you know what? It is a feature film outing. It does have a lot going for it. If nothing else, it's got Stephen Fry as the voice of the guide, and the guide it's got some fantastic gags in it, which admittedly are lifted directly from the source material, less the adaptation, and Martin Freeman as Arthur Dent, which it's good casting. It's good casting. If they'd done this 15 years earlier, it would have been Hugh Laurie opposite Stephen Fry as presumably Ford Prefect. But you can see the 2005 adaptation. I'm sure there will be another one made for streaming, if there is a God, in the next few years. But that's on Amazon Prime come Monday. Our last one this week is also a DVD and Blu-ray out on Monday. We've got a clip for this one too. And this is one didn't quite tear up the Oscars the way I expected, although noticeably got hair and makeup. It's House of Gucci, Bex. You saw this one, didn't you?
Oh, yeah, I did, and I was shocked that Gaga got snubbed. I know we think it's a bit of a trashy movie, but I loved it. But I think the performance was worthy of a nod, to be honest. But hey ho, what a shame. But you guys can go and check this out on DVD and Blu-ray yourselves. It is a great watch. Father, Son, and House of Gucci. Very much worth your time.
She said she was in. She went full method on this, and I'm sort of thinking, how? You sound like a pantomime villain the entire time. You did this like all day, every day. This was your method. This is what you did. Like, wow. Okay, I bet Gaga was fun for those few months. But yeah, I think I actually had a great laugh with this. Took the missus. We went and saw this in Michigan. I thought it was great. But yeah, get this on DVD and Blu-ray come Monday, and it rounds up what has actually turned out to be a pretty fun week, despite there being naff all new out there. But next week we're going to make up for it a little. We've got a movie I've been dying to see next week, which I'll name last. But we have got Joe Wright's Cyrano, starring Peter Dinklage. Next week, we've got The Duke with Jim Broadbent next week. We've got, I have to be careful how we say this title, F This Job. I'm just going to say F This Job, which is about a documentary about a Russian TV station, because that's what I think of when I hear that title. But most importantly, a movie I've been dying to my core to see. This is up there with The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, starring Nicolas Cage, as a movie I have to see. The Foo Fighters star in Studio 666, out in cinemas next week, finally all around the world. I can't wait. We're going to get to talk about. They're partnering with Meat Liquor in the UK, which is one of my favourite restaurant chains as well. I can't wait. I'm going to dine out, literally going to dine out on this movie. Can't wait. Let's see how it turns out. Studio 666 joins Cyrano, F This Job, and The Duke on next week's docket.
Well, until then, I'm excited to see what Van comes up with as pre-intro for that one. But for now, I've been Becks Perfect.
I've been Van Connor, and we shall return.